Hello everyone. This is Durga Sankar, National Chief Mentor for UG Management with IMS, and I welcome you all to this video on how to crack Symbiosis Entrance Test, popularly called as SET. I will take you through the entire information about Symbiosis Entrance Test or SET in 4 parts. Number 1, what are the campuses and courses that one can target through this entrance exam and selection process followed by all these campuses? The paper pattern for SET and what should be the target score? The section-wise important topics and what should be the preparation plan and the overall strategy that one needs to follow. Now, Symbiosis International University, based out of Pune, offers various undergraduate courses in business administration, liberal arts, economics honors, as well as applied statistics and data science through multiple campuses across the country. So this is the complete list of campuses and courses that offers the said programs across the 5 campuses in India at Pune, Noida, Bangalore, Hyderabad, and Nagpur. Now, the advantage with this is the entrance exam is common for all these campuses and the courses. Now, the admission is through Symbiosis Entrance Test, SET, followed by certain subsequent selection criteria. So let's have a quick look at the entire process of selection point by point. Now, the written test is conducted in 2 rounds. This is an advantage for most of the test takers because you get to give a shot at the exam in 2 rounds. The first round is conducted on 6th of May and the second one is scheduled to happen on 14th of May. While applying, students will have a choice to select one of the attempts or both. And if you are attempting the test in both the rounds, the best of the score will be considered. Now, once the written test is done and the results are announced, every campus and a program will have a cutoff that is decided by the respective admission authority, and students who have applied to those campuses and programs and have cleared the cutoff will be shortlisted for the second stage of selection process, which constitutes written ability test and personal interview, shortly called VAT-PI. Now, the VAT-PI process is common for students who appear for both the rounds or either of the rounds of the admission test. However, please do understand that the VAT and PI are separate for each campus. For example, if a student has opted for Pune, Noida, and Hyderabad campuses for BBA, and if he clears the cutoff for all the 3 campuses, then the student will have to attend the personal interview for all the 3 campuses separately. And the final admission is based on the performance of the student in the written test as well as VAT and personal interview. Most of the cases, there is equal weightage given for the SET as well as the VAT-PI process. Now, let us understand what is the SET pattern all about. Over the last couple of years, there has been a change in the test pattern of SET. One major difference between SET and the other exams is the duration. Of all the undergrad admission tests that we have for the national level universities for undergraduate program in business administration, SET is the exam which is of shortest duration. The exam currently is conducted for 60 minutes and has 60 questions. As you can see on the screen, the exam has 4 sections general English, quantitative, and general awareness section with 16 questions each, whereas analytical and logical reasoning has 12 questions. So the exam is for 60 minutes and 60 questions. Few important points to note about the exam. The marking scheme is such that every correct answer will give you 1 mark, but there is no negative marking. I am sure this is a respite for a lot of students because it is difficult to manage negative marking for wrong answers. Also, there is no sectional time limit, or till date, there hasn't been any sectional cutoffs. So it's an open play field. It is completely upon you as to how you will use those 60 minutes to maximize the outcome. And based on the past few years' data, we understand that a score of 45 to 48 plus will be a good score that will give the student a great chance of shortlisting for an interview for any of the campuses that they have applied for. What should be the strategy that the student has to follow to be able to succeed in this particular test? The first point is it's a short test. It's for 60 minutes. Now, students who are usually accustomed to 2 hours exam or 2.5 hour exam will find this very short. In fact, you will not even realize when those 60 minutes have passed by. Hence, speed is extremely important. Since there is no restriction on the time limit and the order of the sections is also completely of the student's choice, the time allotment per section is very crucial. The ideal time distribution should be such that English section 15 minutes, quantitative 20 minutes, general awareness 10 minutes, analytical reasoning and logical reasoning the remaining 15 minutes. However, the time distribution can be different for each of you depending on your strength and weak areas. The best strategy in order to be able to score well in this exam is the AC strategy. Don't get confused. I am sure most of you are aware of the ABC strategy that we advise students to follow while attempting any of the entrance exams. Now, this is a subset of it called AC strategy. Since the exam duration is less and we have 60 questions to answer, I often say that set is a one-way traffic. So you go from first question to 60th question. We may not have enough time to come back to certain questions and answer them. Hence, mostly the best strategy to follow is AC. So if you feel the question is easy, you know how to answer it, you're confident you can solve it in less amount of time, then do it right away. Abhi karo. Or if a question is unfamiliar, you are not sure of how to approach, or you are sure that it would take certain time, which you can't invest, then it's a type C question. Chhod do, but since there is no negative marking, the better course of action would be to mark something at random, and there will definitely be certain questions which on the face seems to be solvable. But once we start attempting, after a minute, we realize that we are heading nowhere and we may not be able to solve that question anytime soon. In such situations, an educated guess might help you grab certain marks from such questions. And also remember, the target score that you need to keep in your mind is to the range of 45 to 48 plus. Now let us drill this down to individual sections and understand the structure for each of them and the areas we need to concentrate on and the target score that we should aim for. To begin with, the general English section has 3 broad areas from which you can expect questions: reading comprehension, grammar, and vocabulary. Over the last few years, SET has been concentrating more on grammar and vocab. For example, there were a couple of years in the past where there was no question on reading comprehension. So the entire set of 16 questions were of grammar and vocabulary itself. And in grammar, certain types of questions that we see frequently are fill in the blanks, sentence correction, and in vocabulary, synonyms, antonyms, word substitution, analogies, idioms, and phrases. Now, what should be our goal in English section? As discussed earlier, the ideal time allotment can be some 15 minutes, and the target score should be around 12 to 15 marks. And since most of the questions are of vocabulary and grammar, it should help you attempt those questions faster as compared to the questions of reading comprehension and verbal reasoning. Now, in case if you do have reading comprehension or parajumbles, it is best course of action to attempt the grammar and vocab questions first, so that in the initial few minutes, you cover more number of questions that will give you some additional buffer time to answer the questions of reading comprehension. And the preparation strategy over the next few days before SET for general English should be: build your vocabulary. You can use the daily vocabulary exercises process, and you can refer to the IMS material, the vocabulary booklet, that should give you the required support in these last days of prep. Also, since grammar has wide coverage of various type of concepts, it is best advised that you pick up one topic or two topics a day, go through the fundamentals, and solve certain questions so that you become familiar with all the topics. Moving on to the quant section. Now, the quantitative section, if you see, covers most of the areas, but certain highlights is generally most of the questions are asked from arithmetic, which constitute the topics like percentage, profit loss, SICI, ratio proportion variation, averages mixtures allegation, time, speed and distance, time and work. The second point is, though there are only 16 questions in the quantitative section, they cover many topics. So there'll be a lot of topics from where you expect anywhere between 0 to 2 questions. So a wide range of topics are covered even if there are only 16 questions. The next important point to note is, of late, at least in the last few years, there haven't been any questions on advanced math topics like functions or matrices or binomial theorem, etc. So for students who are not comfortable with advanced math topics, I think that would be a relief. Now, the best strategy for us to be able to do well in the quantitative section, for good number of questions, you should play with the options. In math, in general, for any of the aptitude exams, there are multiple questions that can be solved easily by taking the help of answer options. And particularly in exams like SET, where the average time we have per question is very less, options play a vital role. The next point is, looks can be often deceiving. There are a handful of questions in SET which look lengthy and difficult, but in actual they are quite simple. You shouldn't be surprised if you come across certain questions which take more time to read and understand as compared to the time that's required to solve. So do not decide whether to attempt a question or not based on the size of it. Only decide after reading and understanding what is the information given and what is it that you are supposed to find out. So the best way to prepare for the quant section is to pick up all these topics from which questions have been asked frequently and go through the basics and solve good number of questions so that you are able to build a sense of familiarity. Now moving on to the third section, general awareness. Now it has been a good mix of questions from both current affairs as well as static GK. Out of these 16 questions, unlike math or reasoning or English, for general awareness, there isn't any solving involved. So hence, though I have allotted ideal time as 10 minutes to attempt these 16 questions, I think you should be able to complete answering these in slightly lesser time as well. And we have seen a good mix of questions from both the areas of current affairs as well as general knowledge. And the best way to prepare for the general awareness section is to start with the set compendiums that have been made available on MyIMS. Also familiarize yourself with the current affairs using the weekly bulletins, at least of the last 6 to 8 months. And for practice, you can refer to the practice quizzes, which are on MyIMS. Now, the last section in the set, analytical reasoning and logical reasoning, an interesting combination of certain topics from reasoning as well as English. As you can notice, this is also similar to Quant, where though there are only 12 questions, they try to get or give questions from many topics. So hence, it goes without saying that we have to practice for all these topics so that we do not leave out on any of the questions unattempted. Also, the ideal time allotted is 15 minutes for 12 questions, and a score of 8 to 9 marks plus is considered to be a good score. And time management is very critical in this particular section because reasoning questions can often act as a speed breaker. Now, the question might seem simple, but we will not realize as to how much time we have already spent on that, and still we are nowhere near the answer. So sticking to the time limit that you decide for each question is very, very important. And make sure that you go through all these topics, familiarize yourself with the basics, and do enough practice so that you are able to answer most of the questions from these topics on the exam day. To summarize, the overall preparation plan for students to crack set or to score the required mark is, remember, most of the sections like quant and reasoning cover many topics. So hence, we cannot neglect any of these topics. So make sure that you go through all of them, do enough practice on each of the topics so that you can attempt maximum number of questions during the actual exam. Also, when you do good amount of practice, there's a sense of familiarity that you build, which often will help you identify the answers faster for a handful of questions during the exam. Now, with the help of mock tests that we have, you'll have to identify the best order of sections, whether you want to start with quant or whether you want to start with verbal. What should be your first section, second, third, and fourth? What is the ideal time distribution for each of you, depending on your strengths? And also, the last and most important, the speed. We need to build that speed where we read a question, we determine whether to solve it or not, and move on to the next question to ensure that we have enough time to solve all the 60 questions in 60 minutes. So for this, taking regular mock tests and molding your personality to the way it is required for set is very, very important. So I hope this information will help you formulate the right preparation plan, and with the right efforts, you will come out of the test with flying colors. All the best. Thank you.